Welcome to Sage Audio. Today let's talk about how to saturate vocals. But first, if you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Identify important frequency ranges. Before we begin to saturate our vocal, it's useful to identify important frequency ranges within the vocal signal. The vocal's fundamentals will arguably be the most important range. Since they're often the loudest, they'll trigger the saturation and be the foundation from which harmonics form. The majority of harmonics that form from saturation will be in the low mids to mids, but if we observe closely, we can pinpoint this range. Understanding these ranges is going to be important for the rest of this video, but first, let's take a listen to the vocal without any saturation, and we'll isolate these ranges as well.
Baby, can you tell me? Baby, when you hold me, why don't you hold me quite as tight as you used to?
Complex saturation with single band saturator. Now that we have a better understanding of our vocal's important frequency ranges, let's start saturating. If we have a single band saturator, tailoring it to the vocal can be a challenge, but if we place an EQ before the saturator, we can emphasize our important frequency ranges. This is called an emphasis technique, and it's going to cause the saturator to work harder on those frequencies, giving us more control over the timbre. If our EQ offers it, we can also make these bands dynamic, causing a dynamic emphasis technique. Let's take a listen to the effect.
Baby, can you tell me why you were crying last night? Baby, when you hold me, why don't you hold me quite as tight as you used to?
If you're enjoying the video, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It's free and it helps us bring you more videos. Converting single band saturator into multiband. If the last technique didn't offer enough control and you don't own a multiband saturator, we could use parallel tracks to help with this. Let's create 3 sends. On each, I'll first insert a linear phase EQ and then isolate the lows, mids, and highs respectively. The crossovers will be set to the important frequency ranges that we found in Chapter 1. Then we'll insert our saturator on each track and saturate to varying degrees. To blend in the effect, we can just adjust the sends channel faders until we get a good balance. Let's take a listen to this technique being used.
Baby, can you tell me why you were crying last night? Baby, when you hold me, why don't you hold me quite as tight as you used to?
Choosing saturation types carefully. Let's use the FabFilter Saturn II and run a sine wave through it. If we analyze the response after saturation, we'll notice that each saturation type creates various harmonic formations, which will change the overall sound of our vocal. Knowing our vocal's important ranges, let's create bands that match these. Then we can listen very carefully as we select different saturation types. Depending on the complexity of the plugin that you use, different saturation types will also change the frequency response and either emphasize or suppress transients. Let's take a listen to 2 different settings and notice how the vocal sound changes.
Baby, can you tell me why you were crying last night? Baby, when you hold me, why don't you hold me quite as tight as you used to?
Modulating saturation for specific effects, Part 1. Using the same plugin, we can introduce modulation to emphasize specific ranges or achieve a unique sound. For example, let's imagine that we want a crisp hip-hop vocal. Let's create an envelope follower, change it to transient mode, and then attach it to the drive dial of the high frequencies. Now whenever a transient is sung, this range is going to be emphasized. This is just one way of many that we can combine modulation and saturation to create specific effects. Let's take a listen.
Baby, can you tell me why you were crying last night? Baby, when you hold me, why don't you hold me quite as tight as you used to?
Modulating saturation for specific effects, Part 2. Another useful way to modulate multiband saturation would be to create a band that isolates 2 kHz to 5 kHz. Using an envelope follower like we did in the last chapter, let's attach it to the drive dial and to the overall level of the band, increasing both whenever the vocal is present. This way the vocal will cut through a dense mix, but in a dynamic way that can be controlled by altering the ADSR of the envelope follower. Let's take a listen to it.
Baby, can you tell me why you were crying last night? Baby, when you hold me, why don't you hold me quite as tight as you used to?
Unique reverberated saturation. One new technique that I've been trying recently is isolating the saturation and then reverberating it. To do this, I'll use a parallel track and saturate the signal like we did in Chapter 3, and then I'll insert a reverb plugin with room emulation for a shorter, denser reverb sound. This is going to accomplish a couple of things. First, it's going to make the saturation sound unique, and second, its short reflections will act somewhat like frequency modulation, creating a denser and blended sound. Let's take a listen.
Baby, can you tell me why you were crying last night? Baby, when you hold me, why don't you hold me quite as tight as you used to?
If you're enjoying the channel, use the search box to watch more of our videos. Maximizing vocal saturation. After we've saturated the vocal, it helps to bring its quietest details forward. To do this, you can use an upward compressor or a maximizer. I'm going to use Melda Audio's free compressor plugin and increase the value of the signal below the threshold. This is going to amplify low-level content. As a result, details of the saturation that were being masked by louder signals will be made more apparent, making the saturation more complex and full. Let's take a listen to this effect on isolated or parallel saturation so that we can get a better understanding of what it's doing.
Baby, can you tell me why you were crying last night? Baby, when you hold me, why don't you hold me quite as tight as you used to?
In key, emphasis technique. Let's revisit a concept that we used in Chapter 2, the emphasis technique, but use it in a more specific or intentional way. What I'm going to do is figure out the key of the song and then amplify in-key notes using the equalizer before saturating the vocal. This way, in-key elements of the vocal are more likely to be saturated, causing more musical and in-tune saturation. If you try this on your vocal, it's best to use saturation with even ordered harmonics to ensure that all harmonics are going to be in key as well. Let's take a listen.
Baby, can you tell me why you were crying last night? Baby, when you hold me, why don't you hold me quite as tight as you used to?
De-essing prior to saturation. If you're saturating the entire frequency range or maybe performing high frequency modulated saturation to create a crisp sound like we did in Chapter 5, it's important to de-ess first. The de-esser is going to control the dynamics of these high frequencies, ensuring that sibilance isn't inconsistent or too aggressive. The longer the release on the de-esser, the smoother the sound, so adjust this as desired and if it's available with the de-esser that you're using. Let's take a listen to high frequency saturation, the de-esser used before it.
Baby, can you tell me why you were crying last night? Baby, when you hold me, why don't you hold me quite as tight as you used to?
Where to insert saturation on a vocal. When saturating your vocal, it's important not to place the saturator after temporal processing, like delay or reverb, otherwise it's going to have trouble saturating the fundamental, or at least measuring the fundamental properly. That said, saturating after temporal processing does have a really cool and unique effect. Since we've already listened to more conventional saturation routing, let's try this out by using a delay on the vocal and saturating the delay taps to create an interesting sound. I'll do this as a parallel track so that we can hear the effect isolated to only the delay taps. Let's take a listen.
Baby, can you tell me why you were crying last night? Baby, when you hold me, why don't you hold me quite as tight as you used to?
If you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching.